Hey, y'all, hope you are having a great day. It has been a very interesting last 24 hours. I don't know if a lot of y'all saw this, but I actually was on Ashley Banfield last night on News Nation talking about the Micah Miller case. And they will actually be playing my interview tonight on Ashley Banfield in more of an entirety. So I won't be on there as a live guest, but I will be on there, um, you know, with my content. And then I'll say something that's really interesting. Apparently, I talked to their producer today, and I'm just very excited about this. So I want to share it with you guys. But apparently, she was saying, and this is, we'll see if it actually happens because I think it'd be amazing, but unlikely. I don't know. But here's what they said that Ashley might actually want to be on my show, meaning here on YouTube. So if that's the case, I mean, obviously that would be monumental, right? If that happens. So we'll see what happens. With that, but apparently they want me to become a friend of the show, so I'm very much stoked about that. Anyways, the other thing that I want to share with y'all before we get into the housekeeping items is that I will be on, it is, for those of you who are watching it right now, it is June 4th. I will be on at 8 p.m. Central with JLR on his channel, talking again about this case. JLR has made it to South Carolina, and so he has invited me to come on his show. Of course, I accepted. So if you guys want to, make sure to tune in for that. And then for my TikTok people, just so y'all are aware, it is Tuesday night. And Tuesday night means sub live, right? Sub live. So what that means is that if you are on TikTok and you are a subscriber on TikTok, we have those sessions every Tuesday. It doesn't mean that we're trying to leave anybody out. It is a once a week thing. And yeah, so just to let you guys know. Now, with that said, obviously with everything going on, we have to, pay the bills, right? Before we talk about what we're talking about today, which in case you didn't see the cover on it, we have updates on 3 pretty big cases. Some big stuff came out the other night. We have Sebastian Rogers, we have Gabby Petito, and of course, Micah Miller. There's a bunch of stuff. Every day there's something new with Micah Miller. But the Gabby stuff is really interesting. And I'll get to that in a second. In the meantime, let's start doing those housekeeping items, right? So first, as a lot of y'all know, I do have a podcast, 50 Words for Murder. If you see the link scrolling down at the bottom, it's justontiktok.com. That's how you can find the podcast. A lot of times, if you don't have time to sit and watch these entire shows, but you can take them on the go, you can just go to justontiktok.com, scroll down to 50 Words for Murder, click it, and subscribe to it, which it's free to subscribe, follow the podcast, whatever, and then you can take these on the go when I upload them. The next thing I want to talk about, of course, is the book. And I want to say this because I said this yesterday as well. The books, obviously. I did get a new shipment of some in, so this is one of them. So definitely, if y'all want to order, make sure to order before we sell out again. But for Boundaries, the way I described it yesterday was a way that I had never done it before based on some of this stuff that we have been talking about lately, which is I wrote Boundaries because my daughter asked me why she had never met my mom. I'm no contact with my mom for 5 years this year. She's a very toxic, malignant narcissist, and so this book was written to basically help explain to her why in a way that was easy for her to understand and didn't vilify my mother. And obviously, we're trying to share it with you guys who are in that same situation as a tool in your toolbox as a parent. Once I had it written, I had it sent to 3 different therapists. We reviewed it to make sure that it was appropriate. And got it published. It's the only book like it that exists. The other one, I got a massive shipment of surprise. You guys had sold me, I had stopped promoting this book because I was so close to running out, but now I'm not worried about it. I have more of these. The hardcover should be here anytime now for those who have pre-ordered. You can still pre-order through my website, justontiktok.com. Surprises are okay, secrets are not, is available in the TikTok shop or on my website. This book is something that no parent should be without. If you have little ones, this is a book to teach them, hey, you should not be keeping secrets. Adults should not expect you to keep secrets. And then has a Q&A at the end to help you guys kind of have a way to navigate that and have age-appropriate conversations with your kids. So with that being said, let's get to it. Like I said, we had some pretty big updates today, and we're just going to go ahead and start with one that has I get constantly asked about, which is this. Sebastian Rogers. Okay? Basically, we just hit 100 days with Sebastian Rogers. Yesterday was the 100th day. So I'm trying to get that stuff pulled up in front of me. The 100th day was Sebastian Rogers, guys. And there's no real information. So here's what I can tell you. Today specifically marks the 101st day since Sebastian went missing. I told you guys that I would keep a close eye on this case and update you as there were updates. And I also told you guys that I was not going to be getting into the drama with things regarding the parents with Chris, Katie, and Seth. Not necessarily them directly as people, but with everything being spoken about with them and rumors and articles about them, because the focus needs to remain on Sebastian Rogers. It's Sebastian's story. It's not a Chris and Katie Proudfoot story. It's not a Seth Rogers story. Yes, they add elements to it, but it's ultimately about Sebastian and bringing Sebastian home. Now, unfortunately, there is very little new to report. According to investigators, Sebastian Rogers' disappearance is not a cold case yet. It's not. The TBI and FBI and Sumner, and Tennessee, TBI, by the way, for those of you who don't know, is the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, but the FBI, Sumner County Sheriff's Office, they're all maintaining this case remains active. However, the authorities have admitted that they are no closer to solving the mystery of what happened to Sebastian. Talking about the last and latest tip that we had for Sebastian, it was that photograph that was taken at the visitor center in North Carolina, and that turned out to basically be a false lead. The teen that was in that picture, in that photo, was identified and confirmed that it was not Sebastian. And since then, things have been pretty darn quiet. Obviously, hitting that 100-day mark is a massive milestone, and law enforcement is really emphasizing that no one is giving up. However, and unfortunately, the number of reported tips or potential sightings has decreased in the recent weeks, and at this point, there are no more random search efforts by authorities. Based on the investigation and search efforts that they have to date, they have a big body of work to review from what they've already completed and accomplished, and in the absence of new information, they're just continuing to go back over everything that, they've done already to give it a new, fresh set of eyes. Now, I realize that everybody is very frustrated in this case for a multitude of reasons. For me, it's lack of new leads, which unfortunately, as you guys know, you guys following this case on social media, knows that this leads to a rumor mill and just continued conspiracy theories. And, I love the impact that social media has on a lot of these cases, getting them in the forefront. I had, Joe Petito on yesterday on TikTok, and we were talking about just this, that the importance of social media and solving these cases and getting it out there. He will personally say that, social media is the reason that his daughter was found. And it's helpful in these cases. However, with every case that gets viral, there are things that become insane. It happened during Gabby. Gabby was accused of being a crisis actor. It's happened during the Idaho 4. It happens, unfortunately, over every big case, and this one is no different. It's gotten a bit out of hand, which is one of the reasons why myself and other large creators have taken a step back, not completely, but gotten to the point where, like, hey, we're going to focus on Sebastian and Sebastian only and not the rest of the stuff unless it's relevant to the case. Because he said, she said, fighting over the parents with other creators and other, people, it doesn't help advance this case. It actually causes more harm than good. Now, the other thing that I'll say is that investigators are still saying that options, all options, are on the table. They remain on the table, including the possibility of foul play. Now, what I will say at the end of this, that's important because we don't want to give up hope. Share Sebastian's flyer. If you are in Tennessee, especially, or one of our surrounding states, share his flyer. Post it on Facebook. If you see a video from a creator that's talking about Sebastian, specifically on TikTok or Instagram Reels, watch it. It helps that, the algorithm pick it up, show that it's a popular video. Comment on it. You can share it. It's minimal things that you can do to help get it out there because it's not over yet at this point in time. And hopefully some new leads will come forward. As I've mentioned many times before, Sebastian Rogers is my community. It's heartbreaking. And one of the other things that I'll go ahead and say too that I've not been tight-lipped on with this is that the way police have been handling this is very frustrating. If they sit here, and in these statements, they talk about that they don't want the rumor mill going. Listen to authorities. When you know that, don't listen to TikTok detectives, don't listen to influencers. who are coming up with stuff, if it doesn't come from authorities, it might not be true. And I don't totally agree with that, because sometimes we have direct connections to the family who tells us things, or people involved who tell us things that law enforcement might not. But all that being said, in this community, we know that Sebastian Rogers disappeared without a trace. So if he ran away and they think that, let us know. If they think it's foul play or he was taken, let us know, because in my community, in Sumner County, Tennessee, are we dealing with a runaway, or is there somebody out there abducting children, and we as parents need to know about that? That's all I'm going to say. So if they want these rumors to stop, maybe they should do a press conference, even if there's not much to say, just to address it, because at this point there has only been one press conference for Sebastian Rogers. And that one, man, was a dog and pony show, in my opinion. They invited, I went out there to do it. They wouldn't let Seth in. They wouldn't let me in. The Proudfoots, I don't think, went, but even if they had, they wouldn't have let them in. It was only for the news stations that they had curated and that they invited, and everybody else, it was basically giving them the middle finger, like, you're not coming in. That was basically what happened with that. So, but Sebastian deserves to be found. Seth deserves to have closure on this. I mean, even the Proudfoots deserve to have closure. Look, we all have our feelings on this, and in trying to remain neutral here, assuming that the Proudfoots had no issues or involvement in foul play with Sebastian's death, then they deserve answers too. That's the bottom line. They do. So keep your eyes out, keep them peeled, and yeah. So the next one I'm going to talk about is Gabby Petito, because, oh my God, the stuff that came out yesterday. And let me tell you how new this is. I was at CrimeCon this past weekend with all four of Gabby's parents, okay, with Joe and Tara and Nikki and Jim. And I can tell you that they did not know this information that came out. They were not aware of this information. Some of it we're going to talk about. Now, Nikki did say something at CrimeCon, which we're going to talk about. It made headlines, and it goes to show that Nikki Schmidt, the mother of Gabby Petito, is a much, much, much bigger person than I am. Okay, so before I get into the new stuff about Brian Laundrie, which is mind-blowing, let me kind of talk to y'all about this. So basically, Gabby Petito's mom, Nikki, has revealed that she's forgiven Brian Laundrie. If you don't know anything about this case, Brian Laundrie was Gabby's boyfriend / fiance, and ultimately he is responsible for her death. But, and there's a big but here, she's forgiven Brian. But then she said this about about Brian's mom, Roberta Laundrie, a mastermind, as she called him. And well, here's what she said, verbatim. I needed to release myself from the chains of anger and bitterness, and I refused to let your despicable act define the rest of my life. As for you, Roberta, I call you out individually because you are evidently the mastermind that shattered your family and mine with your evil ways. I see no empathy in your eyes, no remorse in your heart, and no willingness to take responsibility for your actions. And she said this wearing a Burn After Readings shirt, which, by the way, I'm going to put this up here real quick for those of y'all who want to. So I forgot to tell you, by the way, yeah, so subscribe. Didn't mean to hit that one, but yeah, subscribe if you haven't done that already, but this one, GabbyPetitoFoundation.org. Here's the shirt, Burn After Reading. I ordered this last night while on the live with Joe, and I'm going to tell you something about the Gabby Petito Foundation's merch. It is like some of the best quality, most comfortable stuff that you can have. I don't get a kickback off it, but at all. I support them because I think that what they're doing is amazing and changing the rules for domestic violence, changing the world, literally the world. They're working on changing legislation in the UK now. They're about to be successful in 4 states here in the US in changing the lethality assessment and the way things go. So it's a great organization to support because DV affects a lot of people. And, so go to GabbyPetitoFoundation.org. I'm also going to go ahead and scroll the domestic violence hotline across the bottom. But she's a bigger person than I am. There's no way I think that I could be there. So good for her. This family, guys, I'm going to say this, and I've said this a million times. This family, y'all, is goals. Okay? This family is goals. Like, as you've seen them on TV, they are just that way in person. They are the nicest, kindest, most generous, loving people you could meet, and it's hard to not want to support them. So now let's get into what we've already. So like I said, order this shirt. Go check out their merch. The Burn After Reading shirt, for those of you, I meant to say that, sorry, ADD. Roberta wrote a letter, a very weird and disturbing letter that I'm not going to read on this, but you can Google it. And she titled it Burn After Reading. And so it outlaid a few things talking about how, like, if he had a body, you know, or he brought, you know, she would help him hide. She would, you know, break him out of jail. If he hated her guts, she would get new guts, like real toxic, narcissistic stuff. And you know what I'm going to do in this live, which I shouldn't do because, you know, it's rare that I give my opinion on stuff. I'll do it in live, but it's rare that I'll do it on like a recorded video. But I'm going to give you my opinion on what actually happened to Brian Laundrie. And again, it's not facts. It's my personal opinion. And I'll share that with y'all today in a second. But that being said, with Brian Laundrie, the FBI, and again, this at CrimeCon, literally I was hanging out with them the day before. They knew none of this. But the FBI apparently released more photos and information about Brian Laundrie's mental state. Now, because of that and the conversation we're about to have, I'm going to scroll this number across the bottom, which is the substance abuse and mental health hotline, which is 800-662-HELP. This number, and scrolling this up, is very important to Gabby's family. Joe had them scroll this on Banfield last night. And so I told him that when I talked about this, that I would scroll it as well. So if you know anybody who's dealing with substance abuse or mental health, you know, please keep that in mind. Okay. So the FBI released some information about what they found. So given that we're doing this simultaneously broadcast on YouTube, this will be recorded on YouTube and it's on TikTok. Some of the things we're going to talk about, they find we're going to have to change it to social media friendly words, because if we don't, the social media gods will get mad at us, and we don't want that to happen. So the FBI found additional notebooks, and this is in Brian stuff, belonging to Gabby, in addition to hundreds of bullets, multiple magazines, a very weird novel called Choke that was like a religious Jehovah's Witness type novel, and a bill of sale and handbooks for a Ruger 380 and a Glock 49 millimeter. They also found a compound bow fitted with a rifle scope, bolt-action rifle magazines. They use the term knuckle dusters, but it's really like brass knuckles, and a number of Watchtower magazines, which are, for those of you who don't know what the Watchtower is, those are Jehovah's Witness magazines. If the Jehovah's Witness come knock on your door, if you are Jehovah's Witness, you already know what the Watchtower is, but it's what they give you when they're trying to share and spread awareness about their religion. So the other thing that I'm going to show you, though, is, well, you know, I'm going to pull this up on here on YouTube. And if you're on TikTok and you want to jump over to YouTube to see it, we're going to pull up some of these images that he had. We have a few that we're going to show. If not, we'll just talk about it and describe them, which is okay. But if you want to go on YouTube, it's Justin on TikTok on YouTube, and you can see these for yourself. But anyways, one particular piece of evidence included Brian's writings indicating his own wish to be homicidal, perhaps, and then take his own life, hurt himself. And this was just months before he began dating Gabby. Here's what it says in his writing. And actually, let me pull this writing up. I think I have the actual. Here we go. Let me get this pulled so I can read this to you. About a year ago, I went into a type of mania where I was smashing holes in the wall with my head, kicking through paintings, tearing whatever I was working on, pouring gasoline on myself to burn alive, but getting the lighter wet, parking out in Murderland, listening to Mac, they said that's unclear, but it might be DeMarco, with a firearm to his head, wrestling alligators. That is what he wrote in his own diary on October 26, 2018. And now, as you can see where we're going with this is why I'm scrolling the number at the bottom. Okay? He said that he wanted to die, and the weird thing is that nothing's changed, but the timer's running down. Under the mattress I'm on is a loaded firearm, revolver, a pull of the trigger, and my problems will be over, he said. This is in his diary. This is, you know, and what it's telling us with this, I'm going to go back to this picture real quick. What it's telling us basically is that, in retrospect, Brian dealt with severe mental health issues. According to the Petitos, Gabby's family's attorney, he was clearly a narcissist and a manipulator capable of violence, which is, malignant narcissist. But it shows that he was dealing with extreme mental health issues. It's a lot. The other pictures that we have are that they found. We'll see these very quick. These are things that the Petitos found out about here very, very, very recently. This right here is a skull. Let me put this back. I didn't want to talk about this. Saying trust no one. You can see the words here. It starts with K, ends in 2 L's. They kind of covered some of this up, it seems. And it's a skull here that he drew. Just some really demented artwork, demented drawings. Things like that. Just very, very, very concerning stuff, And I'll be very frank with you. I feel kind of bad for the guy, and I have from to a degree from the get-go. And I think that it was interesting that Nikki had chosen to forgive Brian prior to actually seeing these. Again, I think it shows a lot of how she was as a person, and I commend her for that. I'll put her back up here. So, one thing that I want to talk about, so I threw this picture back up with the Burn After Reading shirt. Again, I'm going to encourage you to go to the Gabby Petito Foundation.org and order it, support them, or order some of their merch to support them because it's great. But I'm going to give you guys, after I share something that Joe Petito and I have been working on that we're both very passionate about. And it's not just been the two of us. It's been a lot of other creators behind the scenes, and I'll kind of leak a little bit of information about it. So basically, when we cover these cases, one thing that's a challenge, y'all have heard us talk about, is the issues with MMIWs, which is missing and murdered Indigenous women, and people of color, so black and brown people. And when they go missing, oftentimes there's little to no coverage. It's very rare when that happens. It's very rare that happens when it's male. The fact that Riley Strain, who we are still waiting on toxicology for, guys, but when Riley Strain went missing, that he went that viral is incredible because, again, it typically doesn't happen for males. So we're working on a project together to basically change that and change the way that content creation is done to get more people to engage and to watch it and to really get that out there and more awareness surrounding it. In fact, one of the things that Joe took myself and Pascal to, as a matter of fact, was when we were at CrimeCon, they were recording a documentary. I don't know the name of the documentary yet or when it's going to be out. And Joe and Jim invited us Pascal and I, to come up and be part of that and take part of a conversation regarding all of this. And there's an attorney who's part of this MMIW stuff that has donated over 20 hours of pro bono work. And I'm going to bring her on one day because I really feel like y'all should hear her. She's one of the most impressive people I have ever met, ever had the opportunity and the pleasure to hear speak. And I just want to make sure that y'all get an opportunity for that as well. Now, before we move on to Mica, because there's a lot of updates there, I told you guys that I would give you my theory on what happened to Brian. And the reason that I'm doing that is because a lot of my TikTok followers, I always will say things like, it is my opinion. This is not a fact. I'm not being accusatory. It is my opinion that Roberta Laundrie is responsible for her son's death. And people want to know how I could say that. And there are people they think that he's still alive. They, think that he got away, could be living somewhere, or he did take his own life. But I think that Roberta did it. And I'm going to share that theory with you why now, because people always ask me to, and I do it on lives, but it's never been recorded, which is being recorded right now on YouTube. So I'm going to give you the very condensed version of this, which is basically when Brian Laundrie first went missing, he took that Mustang out there. And within a couple of days, Roberta Laundrie was out there retrieving the Mustang, knowing, based on the Laundrie's own admissions, that he had no phone, he had no tablet, he had no way of communicating, and they just took his only form of transportation home within a day or two of him being out there. On top of that, Roberta Laundrie never once searched. Christopher Laundrie went out there a couple times at the request of the FBI or at the request of authorities, but Roberta never did. And y'all heard me say it 1,000 times on Sebastian Rogers, which is you don't search for what's not lost. When they finally searched the Carlton Reserve, which they spent tons of man hours and tons of money bringing in all sorts of equipment, Roberta Laundrie leaves her house for the very first time and heads to that park. And within 30 to 45 minutes, she found her son's remains. Things that a large amount of money, skilled law enforcement, investigators, detectives, search teams couldn't find. She's also wearing black. And look, I am not one here to judge on how somebody grieves. Everybody grieves differently. Okay? Everyone grieves differently. But she also didn't. You would have had to pick me up off the floor, is my point. And you didn't with her. And again, like I said, this is a theory. It is speculation. It is not factual. It's just when you look at everything, to me, that theory makes more sense than all of the other ones out there. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm not accusing Roberta Laundrie of anything. It's just an interesting thought. The other thing is I believe that Roberta Laundrie, based on her actions, based on my experience, number one, is toxic. I'm not qualified to diagnose somebody as a narcissist, but I would say that she has narcissistic tendencies, maybe quite a degree. But in the event that she actually is a full-fledged narcissist, which I believe is incredibly likely, remember, narcissists are incapable of loving anybody. They can only love themselves, and they can only use people for supply, and that's it. They don't even love their own children. Again, I am the child of a narcissistic mother. I know this to be true, and it's not just me, it is everybody. They are incapable of love. Okay? Does that mean that Roberta took her own son's life? No. But it means that she might not have been that distraught. So with that said, let's go on and let's talk about Micah Miller. And for that, we're going to I'm going to stream this number because we did the domestic violence, which is this. If you or someone you know is struggling, you can call the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988. This is in America, obviously. It's available in English and Spanish 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's important because these are all discussions that we're having here. But let's talk about Micah Miller here for a moment. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about here. So I'm going to get through it, as quickly as we can to give you all the facts. And what I want to start with is actually this. Let me get this picture pulled up here. And you've heard me talk about this, but I think that this is important, so we're going to talk about it again. Okay. On Sunday, there was a protest at Solid Rock Church. And large police presence, my understanding was canines, et cetera. And people were wanting to know what was going on. And JP gave me his version of events of what was happening. And basically that it was a person who at the time, as prior videos when I've talked about this, I wouldn't mention the name, but now we've talked to that person. His name is Thomas Savard. And he gave his version of events, so I think we can say his name. But basically JP was saying that Thomas Savard, who is somebody he's known for a very long time, and I'll tell you how he knows him, or how he's significant, I should say. They've known him for a very long time. JP accused him of being a rug or party favor dealer, so to speak, and said that basically something happened that led police to believe that JP's life might have been in danger over something that Thomas had done. He basically said he had done something stupid and that he had done. So there's a few things to talk about with this. One is Thomas Savard. How does he fall into this picture? Well, He was Jeremy's stepfather. Now, who is Jeremy? Jeremy is Micah Miller's first husband. He is Micah Miller's ex-father-in-law. Okay? He was part of the church. He helped a lot build the church. And he came on live with me on TikTok yesterday after I had finished the YouTube show that I did yesterday. And we talked, basically gave him, he knew that his name was being brought out there, so he wanted to come on and talk. I told him that, I finally released the name that JP had given me, which was his name, because, look, you need to hear from both sides. That's just what it was, That's just what it was. And his side deserved to be told, and he basically said that nothing was further from the truth. He actually said he wished no ill will on JP, but was disappointed in the way that he's handling things. And if you want to see this interview, it wasn't very long. I actually posted it up on YouTube so you can go back and watch it. And I would encourage you to do so because, Thomas was accused of something, and now we've heard, JP's version of events saying that this is what happened, and now we've heard Thomas's version of events. So that's what I'm going to say. Now, when I talk to him, I don't know. Everybody has a past to some degree, right? Everybody has done things in their past that they're not proud of. I don't know what Thomas's is. Okay, I don't know what he has or hasn't done in his past. But what I can tell you is when I spoke to him yesterday, he sounded very lucid, very with it, and did not seem to be inebriated, at least to me. He gave no vibes that he was an addict of party favors or a party favor user, so to speak. That's just based off the one conversation that I've had, so take that for what it's worth. But that's kind of what went on Sunday, supposedly. The other thing that I want to talk about, which I don't have this video, but you could watch it if you go to my TikToks. If you're not on TikTok, it's not a big deal. I'm sure you can Google also on Banfield. Yesterday or Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember which day it was, but there was a video that came out yesterday from one of JP's neighbors that showed him driving around the neighborhood in apparently a DeLorean. We don't have a picture of the DeLorean. And then he gets out in his Spider-Man costume and walks to his door. Now, according to this neighbor, JP's got a lot of cars that he'll drive around, park them in different places, gets out, and then, goes back in his house. In this case, he did it in a Spider-Man, a full-fledged Comic-Con style Spider-Man suit. And I will tell you, because as most of y'all know by now, I'm in communication with him. I'm encouraging him to do an interview. I'm encouraging him to go on Banfield because his story should be out there. And again, saying that you don't have to believe his story, you don't have to listen to his story, but he's one of the parties involved, heavily involved, and it would be worthwhile to hear his side, his version of things, because it could answer some things that aren't answered. It could give you reasoning into something, et cetera. We learned a lot about the necklace, and there's been a lot of talk about the necklace when he came on my live. We learned, about why, his version as to why she was cremated, amongst a myriad of other things. And this was only in about a 15-minute session, So let's get back to Mica real quick on this. And I hope JP does do it. I hope that he does. But, oh yeah, Spider-Man costume. He sent me a picture of the Spider-Man costume right before all of this show. So I guess that was maybe foreshadowing. I don't know. And I can tell you that it looks to be, if that costume costs less than $1,000, I would be surprised. I'll tell you that. So the next thing I want to talk about is the marital assets hearing being canceled. That was posted by JLR. And then if you go to Kyler Not Tyler's Facebook page, it says that's not true. It's still on the docket. And I've seen both. And here's what I can tell you with my knowledge of this event. JP told me today that he was trying to get the hearing moved in order for everything to go through probate first. He didn't elaborate on that. And he felt at the time he told me all this, his lawyers were working on it, but he felt confident that he would have an answer today and that it would be canceled. So for people who are wondering, why was this canceled? What's going on? Why was the marital assets hearing, moved? That's why, is he wants to put things through probate first. And it sounds like a judge, I haven't seen the paperwork yet. It sounds like a judge might have agreed. Again, Kyler Not Tyler saying that it's still showing on the docket. That could be that it hasn't been taken off the docket yet. It also is possible that it hasn't been moved. But that's kind of what happened. with that for those of y'all who want to know. The other thing I want to talk about is the cease and desist. So I think that I can say this. He didn't tell me this directly, but I know that this was communicated to News Nation. I had been sent a cease and desist, and somebody wanted me to verify the authenticity of it. And I asked JP, and JP's response was, I said, "Is this real?" And he said, "Probably." He was like, "We have a lot of them going out. My understanding is that there are 50, give or take, cease and desist letters that are going out to various creators, news outlets, and news organizations." Okay, that is my understanding. So he didn't confirm or deny whether or not it was authentic or not. He's not seeing it. His lawyers are taking care of all of that. He's got a team of lawyers that he's working with, and he's utilizing them obviously to handle sending out cease and desists. Now that we've gotten all those things out of the way, let's talk about some of these bombshell updates that we've had on Micah's case. So one of Micah's sisters, Anna Francis, went on and she dropped some knowledge on us. And Sierra Francis had dropped some knowledge on me, which I was not able to repeat. But now the fact that it's broken news on Fitz News, I can repeat it. See, that's the thing, guys, is sometimes I'm sitting on a lot of like great information, but I can't share it until it gets broken. Either I'm told that I can share it or it's broken because, we have to maintain trust and integrity with the people that are involved with this, because it's important, it's important. But here's what was said. I believe that this comment was made by Destiny, I believe. Regarding the necklace, if you guys saw, again, the interview where he came on with me and it was replayed on Banfield last night, JP said that it was absolutely her necklace. He got it after she had passed, and he was wearing it because he wanted to feel close to her. That is what he said. Those were his own words with his face showing, okay? But Micah's family doesn't feel the same. They said, in our opinion, it's not something that is to feel close to her, that it's more of a trophy. It is more of essentially almost something to still hang over her, that she was trying to get away. And so I think it's a final piece of her not being able to get away. And so, do you agree or disagree with that is what you kind of have to think. He says to be close to her. They're saying that it's a trophy, basically say, you know what? Even in death, I still got you. That's what they're saying right now. So it's interesting. It's interesting to hear their side on it, for sure. And that could very well be it. It could be a trophy. I've heard both sides. You guys have heard both sides, so it's up to you to decide. I'm going to try to stay neutral as best I possibly can on some of this. But again, as I said last night on News Nation, there's a lot of people that are critical of JP. I am critical of JP. He knows that. That is not a secret. But like I've said before, I will take a neutral position with him in the event that he wants to speak and share his side. That is what I've said. Now, something else that was very interesting, this was pointed out by Anna Francis, was about the unexplained bruises on Micah's hands. Now, we've heard since very early on with this that there was bruising on Micah's hands. If you remember in an early interview, her father was talking about, like, it seemed to him that somebody was maybe squeezing her hand, like they were trying to take something and, put to her head. And they were forcing it up, and that's kind of what the dad thought. Unfortunately, we won't know the results of those because she has been cremated, and the family believes, and I do not disagree, that Robeson County has basically just been ineffective or incomplete in their investigation, and now because of being cremated, there's little left to do that they can do, especially when it regards to bruises. And what Anna said was that there were definitely bruises on Micah's hand that the medical examiner had no recollection of. And she said that she did ask him personally, is there any chance that a body would have bruises on it from being collected from the water or someone touching her after examining her? And I know the answer to this. You all probably know the answer to this, but in case you don't, and I think she knew the answer to that. But to get the official answer from the medical examiner, no. The medical examiner explained to her that a body cannot bruise once the heart stops beating. It can't. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is the phone trackers. And then I got a real big piece of information to share with you after this. I'm saving the best for last. Because this one is one of those, what I'm going to share with you in a second is one of those coincidences or interesting points, I should say. Maybe not coincidence, interesting points that really makes you sit back about this entire situation and think and go, So I want to address the phone trackers, or the trackers first. So one other thing that came out of this interview was the fact that we all know that JP was tracking her location with tracker devices. Now, JP had said that he did that because he wanted to keep her away from shops that sell firearms. And he wanted to know when that happened that he didn't put them on there, but his PIs did. So he admitted to that because his PIs are representative of him. They're an extension of him. So, he ordered it. They did it. That was it. But apparently he was also tracking her via her phone per Micah's family. And one of the first things that she did because of that, once she decided to leave him, once she did leave, was go get a new phone so he couldn't track her that way anymore. Another thing that was brought up in one of these interviews was about, the question was asked, do you believe that her life, she'd ever thought, or that, did you all think that her life was in danger? And I don't remember who the response was, but the response was basically, this is somebody that's putting tire deflation device or raises in her tires. If she's going 60 miles an hour down a road and has a blowout from that, not only could it take her out, but it could take out other innocent people, other innocent bystanders. So, there's a lot to this, guys. There's a lot to this, and every day we're learning a little bit more. I have invited Sierra to come on and talk. I know that she's been a little bit under the weather, so if she decides that she wants to do that, we can, because I'd love to get her most recent thoughts since all of this has been going on. But at this point, I'll just keep you posted on it, is what I'll do. I'll keep you posted on it. So I told you guys I had something big for you. And if you've seen the news today, you already know what it is. But if you've not, it is almost gaspable. Okay, like I'm not building this up. One of the things came out was regarding the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, and apparently Mica was after she had gotten out of the mental institution and JP had taken her phone and her purse and all of her journals and stuff like that. She started basically again to keep more of them because she wanted to prove that there was abuse there. She wanted to log everything that was there, and that's what she did. But apparently one of the things that she also did was report Solid Rock Church to the IRS. Consequently, the same week that she died. Maybe I think even a couple days prior, she reported them to the IRS, to Solid Rock, to the IRS. And now we know that there's an FBI investigation revolving the Dare to Care Africa mission, which was the mission that was very close to Mica. Right? It's big, guys. That's a big one. That's a bombshell. 100%. So, a call to the IRS, FBI investigating for financial crimes. She's dead. And again, I'm not saying, right now the official answer from what we know is that she took her own life. And so that's what we have to go off of based off the medical report, because that is the official answer. Does it mean that I don't have theories or thoughts? Of course I do. Y'all do too. I'm in a different position that I can't always say what those are. So I'll just say that I have theories, but right now the official answer is that she took her own life. But it is interesting. And and it could be as simple, just playing devil's advocate here. It could be as simple as she got all her ducks in a row, did all of this, and decided that this was the only way out. That's very possible too. You can give the benefit of the doubt on that one if you want to. Anyways, it's that one was mind blowing to me. I just, again, they're looking at the Dare to Care Africa mission, the one that she was close to, the one that she helped collect money for, the one that she would have probably been the most knowledgeable about. Now, I don't know if that's what she reported to the IRS or not, but it seems like, I don't know what the timing was. I don't know how long ago it was. We did learn when it was first reported that the FBI was coming out, that Mica was aware that the FBI was involved. Now, I don't know. Even the family doesn't know. Her family doesn't know how long the FBI was involved or how much she knew or didn't know. And maybe it was even the same week. Maybe she reported to them and then she reported to the FBI. We don't know that at this point in time. And unfortunately, or fortunately, because we don't want to jeopardize an investigation, the FBI is not going to share that with us. Maybe once all is said and done. But what I can say about the FBI is this. Once they have their sights on you, the odds of you going down for something is really, really high. And right now, they have their sights set on J.P. Miller and Tom Winslow, who is one of J.P. Miller's attorneys. So, anyways, someone made a comment on TikTok I want to talk about. Somebody goes, think about her sisters. They don't want to see him or hear him. That was clear. Happy Life said. Happy Life doesn't mind me not realize. I do want to share this. I think, and the reason I brought that point up real quick is because I think that it's important to talk about. I'm in contact with both Micah's family, her sister, and I'm in contact with J.P. Miller. Her sister knows this. J.P. knows this. They've given me responses to things that he said that I can't necessarily say. And if they had an issue with any of it, they would tell me that. That's what I'm going to say to that. And that's all I can say to that. But both parties have a right to speak, whether people want to hear them or not. It's important for everyone to speak involved in this, including J.P. Miller, including the villain in the story, including the person of interest, the suspect, because what it does is it allows you guys, and I said this yesterday when I had a statement prepared. I don't have that statement up right now, but in the interest of journalism, it is important to make sure that all sides are heard. And I used the example yesterday. If a news outlet in America had the opportunity, this was years ago, obviously, to interview Osama bin Laden, would you do that? The answer is yeah, you absolutely would. News Nation and so many other news affiliates in this country are beating down the door to interview J.P. Miller because he's been quiet. And so far, the only person that he's spoken to publicly, at least, is me. Why that happened, I have no idea. But as I've said to him, if he wants to speak more, I will give him a fair and neutral platform. I've even offered on, and I'll be very candid with you, I've even offered him layup questions. Now, here's what he did say, though, when I talked to him about it or offered it to him again today. He wants to answer questions from the chat. He wants to engage with the audience and answer questions from the chat. So if and when he does this, and he says that he wants to do it, he's just, I guess, got to get his ducks in a row. That's it. So I offered him, a layup interview. We can do some questions. You can do some Q&A with the audience. We should do it on YouTube, and just where I can throw up questions and just go from there. And so he's thinking about it. He's praying on it. And, if he makes that decision, then that's what we're going to do. But y'all, you know what? That's pretty much what I got for the day. So I'm going to go. I'm going to be on JLR tonight on YouTube, just to remind everybody. Tonight, that's going to be on YouTube at 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. JLR is Jonathan Lee Riches. His YouTube is JLR Investigates. 200-something thousand followers or subscribers on YouTube, big platform. The other thing is I will be on Banfield again tonight as well. Not me directly live, but I will be there for any of you who want to watch the interview. It will be there as well. And lastly is tonight is Tuesday, and I want to make this very clear. I said this at the beginning, but I'll say it again for people on TikTok who just came in. It is Tuesday night. Tuesday night means we do a sub-only live. This is not something to exclude anybody, but we have a lot of subscribers. I think 570 something or 470 some odd subscribers. So on Tuesday nights, we give a sub-only live. as a benefit to them as one of the perks, that and access to a Discord as a perk. You know, that's what we do. Real quick, too, because I just noticed this. I had a couple super chats at the end. I want to make sure. I did not even see them till right now. So, yeah, if you want to subscribe on TikTok, you can do that beyond tonight. But a couple super chats real quick. Ty Bay, thank you for all you do, Justin. I appreciate you, the info you provide, and the manner in which you do it. Hashtag Justice for Mica. I appreciate that, Ty. I appreciate you guys, because without y'all, I would not have any sort of platform, and we would not be getting these stories out there the way that we are. So I appreciate y'all. I really do. Plant Lady says, Plant Lady 7 says, very interested in what Micah's family has for us tomorrow at 2:30. Hashtag Justice for Mica. Same. I'm interested too, but we'll see if the hearing is still happening, because as of right now, my understanding is it's canceled by one person or two people, 1.5 people, and that it's still going by another. So we'll see what ends up happening, because I'm assuming that's what you're referring to as the hearing. Anyways, guys, that's what I have for y'all tonight. I hope you have a great evening, and I will see y'all on JLR Investigates at 8 o'clock my time, and then a little bit after that, I will see you on TikTok for our sub-only live, and I hope that you guys have a great evening, great rest of the day.